Tomorrow always comes. This is at the heart of what many call the Tomorrowland problem. This makes the land feel old a lot faster than the other lands in Walt Disney's original creation. Tomorrowland is one of the 5 opening day lands of Disneyland, with Frontierland, Adventureland, Fantasyland, and Main Street as the others. These others had much more timeless themes, those of exploration, fantasy, and the past. But tomorrow is a tricky theme to build a land on, and that is more than apparent in today's Disneyland, where Tomorrowland is old, inconsistent, abandoned, and literally falling apart. This isn't the land of tomorrow. It's not even the land of yesterday. It's a mixture of themes, attractions, and tired structures that don't reflect anything but Disney's lack of care. But this wasn't always the case, and there's still hope for a better tomorrow. A better Tomorrowland.
Boy!
Before we begin, if you enjoyed Disney and theme parks content, make sure to subscribe as I upload weekly videos from the past to the future. You can find me on Twitter, Instagram, and in our Discord. Links are in the description. Let's now jump into it. Before going to the future of Tomorrowland, we must go to the past. 1954, 1 year before the opening of what was to be known as Disneyland. The construction of Walt Disney's dream was in full swing, but budgets were soon reaching their limits. Because of this, Tomorrowland was heavily reliant on sponsors, and the land was to open with more pavilions showcasing the future through enterprises and through attractions that captivated guests. Unfortunately, this was the only way of making the land a reality, but it came at a cost. Tomorrowland was one of the least favorite lands, even with fan-favorite themes such as space exploration. The following years saw the additions of some attractions in this corner of Disney's theme park, but it was in 1967 that the real change was to come, to be known as Disney's new Tomorrowland.
When Disneyland opened in 1955, Tomorrowland, the world of the future, seemed more science fiction than actual fact. Even today's household word astronaut had not yet been coined. When the 1960s arrived, the world of today began to catch up with Disneyland's world of tomorrow. So Walt Disney and our Imagineering department began to create an all-new Tomorrowland. And here it is today in Disneyland.
1 year prior, the land would close its gates for a complete reimagining. Walt wasn't afraid of closing things down and replacing them with new and exciting additions. And this was exactly what happened here. With the new land came a brand new look, filled with colors, flowers, murals, and amazing futuristic architecture that perfectly fit the new aesthetic. 2 large shining spires welcomed guests as colorful cars passed on top of an elevated track. Kinetic energy was very important in this brand new Tomorrowland, and this photo shows this incredibly well, with a people mover, monorail, and submarines all moving at the same time. Many themes were present throughout the several attractions inside. Attractions such as the amazing adventure through inner space Omni-Mover ride or the Carousel of Progress that came straight from New York's World Fair. Soon after its reopening, Tomorrowland became the most popular land at the park, and a decade later, its popularity exploded once again with the opening of Space Mountain, Disney's most thrilling ride yet. Now to went back in time, we know it's possible to close the land and rebuild it almost from the ground up. And if given a good budget and ideas, it can become a lot better than what was there before. From 1967 to the 90s, not a lot changed in Tomorrowland, other than some rides and some aesthetics, and the land became old once again. So, in the 1990s, there was a new plan to revitalize this area of Disneyland. Unfortunately, with Disney being under a lot of pressure from not-so-successful projects, such as Euro Disneyland, the budget was constantly slashed. This was when the People Mover was closed to become a thrilling new ride called Rocket Rods, and many other strange and inconsistent things were added. The original plan was to build Tomorrowland 2055, to be a retro-futuristic Tomorrowland, taking inspiration from the steampunk Discoveryland from Disneyland Paris. Discoveryland is a tomorrow as seen through the eyes of some great visionaries of the past, like Jules Verne and A.G. Wells. With the budget being less and less, there was not a lot Imagineers could do, So in the end, when guests and fans were expecting a great refurbishment of Tomorrowland, such as the one from 1967, they were instead left with a cheap overlay of the land they once knew, and a bronze Space Mountain. Since then, there have been a lot of small fixes and repairs that have tried to breathe new life into Tomorrowland, but to no avail really. The new ride, Rocket Rods, operated for a little more than 2 years because of the people mover structure couldn't support the friction in the cars from the new ride. So, like many areas of the land, it became abandoned. Today, it's clear that Tomorrowland is the worst land of all the opening day lands. And just to be sure about this, I asked you guys, and well, it went exactly how I thought it would. So, the question now is, how do we fix it? What will it take to transform this shadow of what was once Tomorrowland? I don't know. Well, thanks for watching this. Okay. So, let's take a look at how the other parks are handling this situation. Magic Kingdom is in a pretty much similar state, but still better with a working people mover, a newly opened Tron, and going back to the late 60s to early 70s retrofuturism. Disneyland Paris still rocks a steampunk future from the novels of the great visionaries, even though many decisions have been made that undermine that theme, but this is a video about Disneyland. Hong Kong's Tomorrowland is heavily themed around space and otherworldly architecture, with sprinkles of Avengers Campus to the side. Shanghai went full in with a future from today's eyes, with large open areas, wide structures, rising walkways, and incredible light and kinetic energy with Tron. And lastly is Tokyo Disneyland, whose Tomorrowland is still very similar to when it opened with the retrofuturism from the 70s, though this is changing soon, and this might be important for Disneyland as well. Tokyo will be demolishing their Space Mountain and building a brand new one from scratch. The new Space Mountain will be built more at the back to expand the current Tomorrowland, giving more space to walk around. The project will revitalize the whole area, bringing new architecture and life into the land. This concept art shows how the facade will look like, with a lot of curves and nature-related elements. At night, it'll completely transform with gorgeous light packages, changing the feeling of the entire area. So, from going around the world and seeing the multiple Tomorrowlands, I think it's a matter of personal preference. But I feel like Disneyland's Tomorrowland should be a love letter to the great and a little troubled history of the land. Just like Discoveryland is the future through the eyes of certain visionaries, this Tomorrowland could be the future through the eyes of another, Walt Disney. Tomorrowland has never been better than after the new Tomorrowland in '67, so I think it should return to that aesthetic, but with a real project that would completely revitalize the whole land. Using the retrofuturism of the late 60s, it could really go back to the great themed area it once was. This way, Disney can take what they learned from Paris, that is known to work, and apply it here with the different periods tomorrow. In terms of attractions, currently there's a lot missing. That old Tomorrowland not only entertained but educated. This is another thing missing from the current iteration. With space once again being extremely important in today's world, I think it could be a great theme to educate and entertain guests on. And what better way to do that than with a brand new Space Mountain? Well, I won't suggest destroying the iconic coaster, as someone would probably send a hitman to silence me, but it could be a great opportunity. There are other ways of fixing the area. Disney could always go the same route as they did in '67 and rebuild the land to represent how today's future looks like. Maybe with a similar aesthetic as Shanghai's. This wouldn't truly fix it, because that would also become old as the future arrives and becomes the past. Sticking to a certain time's future might be the only way of truly getting rid of the Tomorrowland problem. Either way, Tomorrowland needs a big revitalization project, because the current state is just not acceptable. Now, is Disney planning any type of project anytime soon? Well, no. At least that we know of. This week, the Walt Disney Company announced that they plan on investing close to $60 billion in their theme parks, resorts, and cruise line over the next 10 years. Almost double the capital they invested in the last decade. Will some of that money be used for a new Tomorrowland? Maybe, and hopefully. There's also the major Disneyland Forward project that Disney is pushing a lot lately, which is their way of seeking the approvals necessary to build new hotels, attractions, lands, and more, and have less restrictions on what they can or can't build. I talk about the Disneyland Forward in this video if you want to learn more about this. With this project seemingly going well, Disney is saying that some possibilities would be to expand both California Adventure and Disneyland Park, but maybe some of that money would be better spent in fixing Tomorrowland. One thing is for certain, and that is that Tomorrowland needs more attention than any other land at the moment. So, you tell me, what do you think about the current Tomorrowland in Disneyland, and how would you fix it? Do you think a 70s retro-futuristic theme would work here? Let me know down below. And now, as always, thank you for watching, and that's a wrap.